You may feel like you've been waiting forever, like love skipped your house, like every door you knock on shuts before you even say hello. But I want you to hear me today. God is not late. He's setting the stage. That desire in your heart to love and be loved. That's not just emotion. That's purpose. That's destiny knocking. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're just being prepared for someone who's being prepared for you. You don't need to chase love. The right one is not hiding from you. They're on God's calendar. When it's time, not even distance, doubt, or delay can stop what heaven has already aligned. God isn't just sending a partner. He's pairing you with purpose. You see, we often pray for the promise, but we forget that every promise requires preparation. You don't just step into something divine without first going through something defining. God doesn't hand you the blessing until He knows you're strong enough to carry it. Because love is not light. It's heavy. It's responsibility. It's commitment. It's purpose wrapped in patience. And if you're not prepared, you'll fumble the very thing you beg God for. Think about this. Imagine walking into a 5-star kitchen with raw ingredients laid out. You've got the recipe, the tools, the flavors. But if you don't know how to cook, all that food will spoil. The promise is like that meal. It can only be enjoyed by someone who's ready to prepare it. Some people cry over empty chairs at their dinner table, asking, God, why am I still alone? But God is saying, because I'm still seasoning your soul. Because if He brought your person before you knew how to speak with grace instead of ego, but if He sent you that love before you learned how to forgive, how to listen, how to be present, you would not hold it, you would hurt it. Do you know why some people walk into relationships and still feel empty? Because they skipped the preparation season. They rushed into a love they weren't healed enough to handle. They got tired of waiting, so they settled. They thought passion was enough. But passion without preparation is like fire without wood. It burns fast, but it doesn't last. Look at how a builder prepares before construction. You don't start by laying walls and painting windows. No, you dig deep, lay a foundation, and make sure the structure can handle the weight of what's coming. That's exactly what God does with you. He digs deep in your heart, clearing out old wounds, childhood traumas, ego battles, trust issues, identity questions. So when love does come, you don't sabotage it with yesterday's pain. That's not punishment, that's protection. Sometimes God holds you back because He loves you too much to let you walk into something unprepared. Yeah, He doesn't want you to meet someone who sees your greatness when you're still stuck in guilt. He doesn't want your destiny tied to someone you only connected with out of loneliness. He wants you to walk in with confidence, knowing I am ready, I am healed, I am whole. Think about a rose. It blooms when it's ready, not before. You don't pull the petals open and say, hurry up. No, you wait, you water, you trust the process. And then in time, it unfolds. That's you. You're unfolding. That silence you feel, that waiting season, that's your root work. That's where your confidence is growing. That's where your standards are rising. That's where your discernment sharpens. You start to see people differently. You don't entertain what used to attract you. You stop being impressed by potential and start being drawn to character. You don't need someone to complete you. You're already complete. You're just waiting for someone who can complement your calling. See, God doesn't just want to give you love. He wants to give you legacy. He's not trying to bless you with butterflies. He's preparing you for someone who will walk beside you when the storms hit. Someone who won't run when life gets heavy. Someone who doesn't just love your smile, but is patient with your silence. That kind of love, that's not found in dating apps or lucky encounters. That kind of love is delivered by divine preparation. But you can't attract divine until you're aligned with divine. So when it feels like nothing is happening, remind yourself, something is happening. God is doing behind the scenes work. He's maturing you. He's removing distractions. He's stretching your capacity to give, to receive, to recognize what's real. He's giving you time to forgive who hurt you, time to build who you are, time to learn what you need. God doesn't deliver 5-star promises to people with microwave mindsets. You don't want fast, you want faithful. You don't want someone that looks good just on Instagram. You want someone who feels like home when life falls apart. You want someone who prays with you, believes in you, fights for you, stays with you. And for that, God is preparing you first. So every no you heard, that was preparation. Every person who ghosted you, preparation. Every tear, every lonely night, every date that didn't work out, not rejection, redirection. God's not trying to punish you with delays. He's preparing to bless you without regrets. And when the time is right and you're ready, when your heart is healed, your spirit is clear, your standards are settled, you'll look back and say, God, thank you for not giving me what I wanted when I wanted it. Thank you for preparing me for what I didn't even know I needed. There's something powerful that happens when you finally understand your partner isn't just supposed to love you. They're supposed to align with your purpose. That's when relationships shift from ordinary to divine, because it's easy to fall for someone who looks good, speaks sweet, and fits your fantasy. But the one God sends, they'll fit your future, not just your feelings. You weren't created just to coddle. You were created to conquer, to create, to call things into existence, to grow into greatness. And the person who walks beside you needs to walk with you, not just around you. Because the wrong partner can feel like a pillow in your present, but become a prison in your purpose. You ever seen a train switch tracks? That's what happens when you yoke yourself to someone not headed where God's taking you. You begin to veer, drift, stall, and before long your life's momentum slows, not because you're weak, but because you're linked to someone who's not moving with you. This is why you can't pick a partner based on surface vibes. Purpose isn't sexy on a first date. It's quiet. It's hidden. But it shows up over time. It shows up when they push you to finish that book, not binge another show. It shows up when they pray over your anxiety instead of telling you to just relax. It shows up when they remind you of who you are when life tries to make you forget. See, purpose is like a river. It flows in one direction. If they're trying to swim upstream while you're going with God, it's only a matter of time before you get tired. That's not love. That's resistance. And you were not born to fight your own destiny. You were born to flow in alignment with it. Let me give you a real example. There's a woman I know who had dreams of starting a nonprofit for young girls. She had the passion, the plan, the vision, but she dated a man who didn't believe in it, said it was just a hobby. He wanted comfort, not calling. She almost gave up, but one day she realized, I'm not just choosing a partner, I'm choosing whether I fulfill my assignment or forfeit it. She left. Painfully, prayerfully, 2 years later, she met a man who not only believed in her dream, but funded the first office space. Today, they run the nonprofit together, changing lives in 3 different cities. That's purpose alignment. It's not just about falling in love. It's about rising in destiny. The right partner won't compete with your purpose. They'll complement it. They won't silence your voice. They'll amplify it. They won't get jealous of your growth. They'll water it. God doesn't just pair you with potential. He pairs you with someone purpose-built to grow beside you, not behind you. And here's what's wild. When purpose aligns, peace follows. Some of you are anxious in relationships, not because something's wrong with you, but because your spirit knows this person is not aligned with where we're going. They might make you laugh, sure. They might look good in selfies. But deep down, your soul whispers, this is not it. Because the one God sends will recognize your calling, not resent it. They'll see your light and not try to dim it. They'll hear your vision and not tell you to shrink it. They'll support your hustle without needing to be the center of attention. Because people with purpose know if we're aligned in spirit, we'll both rise together. It's like 2 people rowing a boat. If one is rowing left and the other's rowing right, you'll just spin in circles. But when both are rowing in the same direction, with rhythm, with focus, with grace, you move forward fast and smooth. That's what alignment feels like. Not friction, but flow. So stop asking if someone's good enough. Ask if they're aligned enough. Do they inspire your greatness or drain your energy? Do they speak life over your dreams or make you feel silly for having them? Do they want to build a future or just enjoy your present? Because the right partner will have vision, not just vibes. Even in the Bible, when God made Eve for Adam, He didn't just make a romantic partner. He made a helper, a co-creator, a destiny partner. They were meant to rule together, not one above the other. That's God's blueprint. Love that leads to legacy, relationship that reflects heaven. That's why you can't afford to link up with someone just because they're cute and kind. Cute won't carry you through depression. Kind won't always understand calling. You need someone who sees the fire in you and instead of fearing it, feeds it. So if God has you single right now, don't be discouraged. It might be because He's aligning someone who's also becoming. And when you both arrive, healed, grown, focused, you'll recognize each other, not just by chemistry, but by calling. You'll say, you feel like purpose. You feel like peace. You feel like partnership on another level. And that's when you'll know God didn't just send you love. He sent you alignment. When God is in something, there is confirmation, not confusion. And that's how you'll know. Let's be real. We've all had those relationships, those situationships, those maybe it'll work out moments that leave us more anxious than anchored. One minute you're flying high on affection, and the next you're questioning if you're even valued. That's not love, that's confusion. And God does not speak in static. His presence comes with peace, not puzzles. Listen closely. When it's God, you won't have to force it, beg for it, or decode it like some emotional Rubik's Cube. You won't have to shrink your standards, silence your voice, or justify their mixed signals to your friends every weekend. Love that comes from heaven won't have you losing your mind trying to interpret texts or overanalyzing tone. It'll feel right in your spirit, not just your feeling. Because clarity is the language of God. Confusion is the chaos of compromise. Let me drop something heavy on your heart. Real love confirms, it doesn't confuse. You won't be left wondering where you stand. You won't have to pray for peace and cry yourself to sleep every night. God doesn't play hide and seek with your heart. When He brings the right one, He brings evidence, not just emotion. You know what confusion looks like? It's that guy who says, I like you, but I'm not ready for a relationship. Or that girl who flirts like she's yours but disappears when you start catching feelings. They keep you in a loop of maybes, a cycle of waiting, a prison of potential. But potential without peace is still a prison. Here's the truth we overlook. If you constantly have to convince yourself that maybe it'll get better, you're already ignoring what your spirit knows. And your spirit is wiser than your preferences. Let's take it to daily life. Imagine you're shopping for shoes. You find a pair that looks amazing, sharp, stylish, trendy, but every time you wear them, they hurt your feet. You convince yourself, hey, I'll break them in. Weeks pass, the pain gets worse. Finally, someone says, if it fits, why does it hurt so bad? That's how many of us treat relationships. We try to break in people who were never designed to walk the path with us. When it's the right fit, it won't hurt like that. I know someone who met a man during one of the most chaotic times of her life. She was rebuilding from heartbreak, navigating her purpose and doubting her worth. She expected more storms, more games. But this man showed up with consistency, not chaos. Every day he showed up with the same message. I'm not here to play, I'm here to build. She said it felt like breathing after drowning. Not dramatic, just deeply peaceful. It's confirmation. But it didn't mean it was perfect. But even in the imperfections, there was peace. They disagreed, but they never dishonored. They faced issues, but never instability. There was no guessing, just growing. That's the difference between confusion and confirmation. One leaves you drained, the other gives you discernment. God is not the author of confusion. He is the author of clarity. And sometimes the clearest message He gives is silence when you're with the wrong person. If you're with someone and you can't sleep, you can't think, your spirit feels like it's walking on eggshells, don't call that butterflies. Call it a warning. Your peace is not supposed to be sacrificed just to have someone. Here's something bold. Love that's right for you won't come with auditions. You won't have to perform, to prove, to pretend. You'll be loved for who you are, not what you can offer. And when it's real, they won't just say, I love you. They'll show up in moments of crisis. They'll stand by you when the applause stops. They'll speak your name in rooms where you're not present. The person God has for you will not bring torment to your soul. They'll be a mirror to your growth and a messenger of your value. They won't ghost you when it gets hard. They'll grab your hand and say, let's get through it together. Because real confirmation comes in behavior, not just words. It comes in follow-through, not just feelings. It comes in emotional safety, not emotional roller coasters. You don't need another conversation that ends in confusion. You need consistency. You need clarity. You need someone who's not afraid to say, I choose you. Not when it's easy, but even when it's inconvenient. When God aligns two people, there is a harmony that drowns out doubt. There's a stillness in your spirit that lets you know this is where I'm supposed to be. Not because it's perfect, but because it's peaceful. So if it's constantly confusing, it's not confirming. If you feel more anxious than aligned, step back. Stop calling chaos chemistry. Stop mistaking emotional highs for spiritual signs. The right relationship won't just thrill your heart, it will anchor your soul. And the God who made your heart knows exactly who can handle it without breaking it. He will not bring you someone who makes your spirit ache with uncertainty. He will bring you someone who confirms, not confuses. You know it's real, not because it feels like fireworks, but because it feels like home. When God brings the right person into your life, you don't feel like you're constantly auditioning, performing, or proving. You feel like you can breathe. You feel seen, not just for your strengths, but for your struggles. You feel safe, even in silence. You feel steady, even when the world is spinning. Too many people confuse hustle with love. They think chasing someone, fixing someone, or fighting constantly means passion. But love is not a race. It's not a job interview. It's not a hustle. Love is a resting place. It's the exhale after a long journey. It's when your soul whispers, I don't have to run anymore. Let's talk about the hustle. It's when you constantly worry, am I enough? Am I too much? Should I text first? Should I back off? It's checking your phone like it holds your worth. It's putting on emotional makeup to hide your pain. It's dancing around your needs because you're scared to seem needy. That's not love. That's survival. And God didn't create you to survive love. He created you to thrive in it. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine walking into a house after a long day. Your feet hurt. You're drained. The world has been loud and chaotic. But the moment you walk in, you feel warmth. The smell of something comforting hits you, maybe your favorite meal. The lights are dim, the couch is calling, and you finally say, I'm home. That's the feeling the right person gives. It's not tension, it's not interrogation, it's peace, it's presence. It's that soft landing you didn't know you needed. I once knew a woman who dated a man for years. From the outside, it looked beautiful. Social media perfection, luxury dates, smiles in every photo. But what no one saw was the storm behind the scenes. She was always hustling to keep his interest, changing herself, suppressing her passions, dressing how he liked, talking how he wanted. She once said, I feel like I'm on a treadmill going nowhere. If I stop running, I lose him. That wasn't love. That was exhaustion disguised as effort. Fast forward, she met a man who didn't need her to perform. He saw her without makeup, both literal and emotional. He loved her passion, not her pretense. He celebrated her quirks. And the first time he looked her in the eye and said, you don't have to earn my love, just be, she broke down because no one had ever told her that just being herself was enough. That man wasn't her hustle. He was her home. God sends partners, not projects. You're not meant to lose yourself trying to keep someone. You're meant to find yourself standing beside someone who sees your full worth, even the parts you hide from the world. The right person will never make you feel like love is a performance. They'll love you in your hoodie and your high heels, in your worship and your weakness, in your vulnerability and your victories. There's a difference between chemistry and comfort. Chemistry can spark with anyone, a glance, a vibe, a touch. But comfort is rare. Comfort says, I can be quiet around you and it doesn't feel awkward. I can cry in front of you and you don't flinch. I can dream out loud and you don't shrink me. That's sacred. When it's the right one, you'll notice the shift. Your stomach won't be in knots every time they don't reply right away. You won't panic if they see you without your mask. You won't be scripting your messages, scared to sound too eager. You'll just speak and be heard. You'll just show up and be embraced. God aligns you with someone who doesn't make you question your worth, but reminds you of it daily. They won't just say, I love you. They'll show up when you're unlovable. They'll hold your hand during your battles and fight beside you, not against you. You won't have to chase clarity. It'll walk in and sit next to you. Let's take it deeper. Think of the difference between a hotel and your home. In a hotel, everything's polished. You walk carefully, speak quietly, watch your behavior. But in your home, you kick off your shoes, tie your hair in a bun, and put on that oversized t-shirt. You're free. The right partner gives you that freedom emotionally. They don't demand your perfection. They delight in your presence. This is what God means when He sends peace that surpasses understanding. You'll stop trying to control everything because you finally feel safe. You'll stop obsessing over being chosen because you already are. And most importantly, you'll stop running because home is not something you chase. It's something you recognize when your soul exhales and says, here, right here, I belong. So when love comes knocking, ask yourself, does this feel like anxiety or alignment? Does this feel like tension or tranquility? Am I running on empty or resting in assurance? Because when it's God, you won't feel like you're fighting to be noticed. You'll feel like you've finally been found. God doesn't pair you when you're perfect. He pairs you when you're prepared. And there's a massive difference. See, perfection is a myth. Preparation is obedience. When you stop looking for someone to complete you and start becoming complete in Him, that's when God starts aligning people, opportunities, and yes, your partner. You don't attract what you pray for, you attract what you prepare for. People are crying out, God, send me a king, but haven't yet learned to be a queen in the quiet places. Others say, Lord, bring me my Ruth, but haven't even stepped into their Boaz character yet. God is not going to hand over a divine relationship to someone who still treats love like a game. He's not going to entrust you with a kingdom marriage while you're still playing in the sandbox of selfishness. Let me tell you something powerful. God is more concerned with your becoming than your belonging. He's more focused on who you're becoming in the waiting than who you're trying to belong to in the world. And if you're not careful, you'll misinterpret the waiting season as punishment when it's actually preparation. Take David, for example. God anointed him king, but he didn't walk into the palace the next day. He went back to the field, he served, he wrestled lions and bears, he played the harp, he waited, because God was shaping his heart before He could hand him the crown. The same is true for you. Before God brings the right person, He'll bring the right mirror. That mirror is your preparation season, where you face your insecurities, your trust issues, your fears, your lack of identity. Why? Because two broken people don't create wholeness. They create chaos. I knew a man who once begged God for a wife. Every night, same prayer, Lord, I'm ready. But when she finally came into his life, he realized he wasn't ready to lead. He hadn't healed from his past. He hadn't learned how to love sacrificially. He hadn't learned to communicate without raising his voice. That marriage lasted 1 year. Not because they weren't compatible, but because he was not prepared. Your prayer life will open the door, but your preparation life is what makes you worthy to walk through it. God isn't just matchmaking, He's mission matching. He's saying, I'm not giving you a partner just to post cute pictures. I'm giving you a purpose partner to build legacy, raise godly children, speak life, carry my light into the world. But you can't carry a crown if you're still carrying confusion. You can't hold someone's heart if you don't know how to hold your own. Think of preparation like packing for a journey. Imagine asking God, send me to the top of the mountain, but you haven't packed any hiking boots, no water, no map, not even the right clothes. You'll get there and collapse halfway. That's what many people do with relationships. They want to go the distance, but haven't packed the tools. Emotional maturity, still missing. Boundaries, unpacked. Pay nowhere to be found. And when the relationship crumbles, they blame God. But the truth is, they weren't prepared. God will not promote who you pretend to be. He blesses the real you, the one willing to be molded, tested, and refined. He sees you in your private prayers and your tears that no one else knows about. He sees your hunger to love and be loved. But he's also saying, my child, let me finish building you. Don't rush this, because what I'm sending you is worth the wait, but it requires the weight of your character to hold it. Preparation isn't just about praying and reading Scripture, though that's powerful. It's about doing the hard inner work, forgiving the one who broke you, even when they never apologize. Healing from abandonment, so you don't bleed on someone who didn't cut you. Learning to love your own company, so you never settle for someone who treats you like a convenience. There was a woman who spent years single, not because no one wanted her, but because she refused to lower her standards, while others laughed at her and said, you're too picky. She was preparing. She built a business. She traveled. She learned how to worship, even when lonely. And then one day, a man came into her life who didn't just match her pace. He matched her purpose. And when people asked how she knew, she said, I didn't meet him when I was looking. I met him when I was ready. Her preparation pulled in the promise. There's something magnetic about someone who's prepared. You walk different, talk different. You carry peace. You're not begging. You're not chasing. You're not forcing. You're attracting. Because when you're aligned with purpose, you don't need to hustle for connection. You're like a lighthouse. You don't go chasing ships. You just shine, and what's meant to find you will. So stop asking, when will they come? And start asking, am I ready to receive them? Because if God gave them to you today, would you be a blessing or a burden? Would you build with them or drain them? Would you push them toward purpose or pull them toward pain? God is saying, I love you too much to give you something you're not ready to handle. You don't prepare for the blessing by waiting for it. You prepare by becoming it. You become the partner you're praying for. You build the love you desire in yourself first. You pour into your growth, your healing, your vision, your identity. That way, when the door finally opens, you don't just step through it. You own it. You can have chemistry, attraction, great communication, even shared goals. But if they don't speak your faith language, your soul will always feel a little out of sync. Because at the end of the day, love rooted in emotion can fade. But love rooted in faith, that builds legacy. That shifts atmospheres. That outlives storms. When someone speaks your faith language, they don't just talk about God on Sunday. They walk with Him every day. They don't just post verses. They live them. They don't just say, I'll pray for you. They grab your hand right there in the middle of your mess and say, let's pray now. They know what it means to go to war in the Spirit. They know how to intercede when you're too tired to lift your head. When you feel weak, they remind you who you are in Christ, not who you were in fear. There's something sacred about being with someone who knows the sound of heaven when you speak. They know how to interpret your silence as a cry for prayer. They know how to fast with you when breakthrough is overdue. They don't just motivate your mind, they elevate your spirit. I remember hearing about a couple who, when they started dating, didn't just ask, what's your favorite food? They asked, what's your calling? She said, to mentor young women and lead them into identity in Christ. He said, to build spaces for people to encounter the presence of God. And do you know what they did on their first weekend together? Not a fancy dinner, not a beach getaway. They volunteered at a youth retreat. And during worship, as they raised their hands to heaven, not to each other, something clicked. Not just romance, revelation. This is what it looks like when faith isn't just a background detail, it's the blueprint. If you've ever tried to love someone who doesn't understand your faith walk, you know the ache. You're on fire and they're cold. You feel God stirring you to step out, and they say, that doesn't make sense. You believe in miracles, and they believe in coincidence. You're praying in the Spirit, and they're scrolling on their phone. Eventually, it's not just a difference, it's a disconnect. Because spiritual alignment isn't optional. When someone speaks your faith language, you can have a 3 a.m. conversation that starts with tears and ends in worship. You can plan your future, and instead of asking, what city do we want to live in, you ask, where is God sending us? It's not about comfort zones, it's about calling zones. You make decisions together by going to the altar first, not to Instagram polls or group chats. And when storms hit, and they will, you don't run to escape, you run to your knees. Imagine this, you're facing a career crisis and you're spiraling in doubt. A partner who speaks your faith language won't just tell you everything will be okay. They'll say, let's go to Psalm 91. Let's declare the promises of God over this situation. While the world is stressing, they're confessing. While others are panicking, they're prophesying. That kind of love, that kind of partnership is not just romantic, it's revival. Even disagreements look different when you're spiritually aligned. Instead of trying to win arguments, you're both asking, how can we honor God in this moment? Instead of keeping score, you're both seeking restoration. You're not fighting for pride, you're fighting for the promise. And hear me, this doesn't mean you have to be at the exact same place spiritually. One might be deeper in the Word, the other still learning, but the posture is the same. I want more of God. I want Him to be the center. That's the language. Hunger, humility, holiness. You don't need a perfect partner. You need a pursuing one. Someone who's chasing God, not just chasing you. One woman once said, I used to date guys who made me feel cute. Then I met the one who made me feel covered. He prayed for her when she didn't even ask. He sent her verses when she needed strength. He didn't compete with her calling. He complemented it. Because real love doesn't just admire your anointing, it protects it. It knows that if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you. So your partner becomes your prayer partner, your vision guard, your faith amplifier. Faith language isn't about speaking Christianese. It's about recognizing God's fingerprints in every detail of your lives. It's when they ask, what is God showing you this week? Not what's trending. It's when they challenge you not to settle. When they remind you your royalty, when you're tempted to live like a victim. It's when they see your flaws and still speak future over you. The truth is, many people settle for companionship, but very few wait for covenant. Covenant happens when two people say, we're not just building a life together, we're building a legacy that points to Him. So when the money gets tight, the pressure gets real, the world gets loud, you're not shaken because you both know this was never built on feelings, it was built on faith. And that's the kind of love that won't just change your relationship, it will change your destiny. It will raise your ceiling, widen your capacity, multiply your gifts. Because when two people speak the same faith language, miracles don't just happen to them, they happen through them. You've heard it said 1,000 times in movies, songs, and novels, I found someone who completes me. But let me tell you something bold, something freeing, and something true. You were never created to be half a person waiting for another half to make you whole. You are not a puzzle missing a piece. You are not a broken glass hoping someone fills your cracks. You are already complete in God. The right partner, they don't complete you. You see, when two whole people come together, that's when something powerful happens. It's not two needy hearts colliding. It's two purpose-filled souls collaborating. Think about it like music. One note can be beautiful, but two notes harmonizing with purpose, that's a melody. That's what the right relationship sounds like. Not noise, symphony. In daily life, we see this truth play out in the simplest of ways. Let's take the example of cooking. Imagine you're a master at making spicy food, bold, fiery, full of flavor, and then you meet someone who brings balance, who knows how to pair that heat with a perfect sweetness or a cool, calming dish. They don't try to overshadow your flavor. They don't try to compete with you in the kitchen. They just bring out the best in what you already know how to do. You don't lose your taste, you become more refined. That's what complementing looks like. It's not competition. It's completion without dependency. Or think about work. You might be the visionary, the one who dreams big, sees the future, and thinks in the clouds. But you meet someone who's grounded, detailed, organized. They don't tell you your dreams are too wild. They help structure them. You say, I want to build something. They say, let's lay the foundation. You say, let's go. They say, here's the plan. That's not someone slowing you down. That's someone keeping you steady. Because what's the point of having wings if you have no place to land? So many people chase after partners thinking love will fix what's broken inside them. That's a dangerous path, because if you come to someone hoping they'll heal your wounds, you'll end up turning them into a bandage. And the moment they stop making you feel better, you'll think they've failed you. But healing is an inside job. You don't need someone to patch you up. You need someone who inspires you to stay whole, who reminds you that your strength isn't in them, Let me drop something deeper on you. When God made Eve, He didn't pull her from Adam's head to rule over him. He didn't pull her from his feet to be beneath him. He pulled her from his side because she was meant to walk beside him. She wasn't created to complete him. He was already alive, breathing, working in the garden. But God said, it is not good for man to be alone. It is not good for man to be incomplete. Catch that. Companionship wasn't about completion. It was about partnership. When the right person comes into your life, they don't try to mold you into their image. They don't ask you to shrink, to dim, to soften just to make them feel more secure. They celebrate your shine. They honor your voice. They see your growth and say, keep going, I've got your back. That's not someone who completes you. That's someone who compliments you with power, respect, and love. Picture two people hiking up a mountain. One strong in endurance, the other strong in direction. One keeps the pace, the other keeps the map. Together they make it to the top, not because one carried the other, but because they brought different strengths to the same journey. That's real love. That's what builds legacy. Not two people who need each other to survive, but two people who thrive better together. Even in parenting, this shows up. Maybe one partner's great at discipline and structure while the other brings tenderness and emotional wisdom. The child doesn't get half a parent from each. They get balance. They get wholeness. They get a partnership that complements in rhythm. And here's something else. The right partner doesn't mirror your every move. They bring perspective. If you're anxious, they're peaceful. If you're discouraged, they speak life. If you're doubting, they remind you of your testimony. And when you're soaring, they don't feel threatened. They clap the loudest. Let me tell you, when you're with someone who compliments you, you don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend. You can just be. And they don't try to fix your past. They walk into your present and help build your future. That's the kind of love worth waiting for. So don't rush into something just because it feels like a quick fix to loneliness. Wait for the one who sees your fire and doesn't fear it, who sees your calling and doesn't compete with it, who sees your strength and doesn't get intimidated but inspired. Because when two whole people stand side by side, aligned in purpose, grounded in faith and driven by love, there is nothing they can't overcome together. You know what's dangerous? Relying on your feelings alone when choosing the person you're going to build a life with. Because feelings can lie. Butterflies fade. Chemistry can trick you. The heart, it can be reckless. The Bible doesn't say follow your heart. It says guard it. Why? Because God doesn't lead you by your emotions. He leads you by confirmation. He gives you signs, not just feelings. God is not the author of confusion. He's the architect of clarity. When something or someone is from Him, it won't just feel right emotionally. It will align spiritually, practically, and purposefully. Let's say that again. God gives alignment, not just adrenaline. Think about it like driving. When you're navigating to a destination, you don't just go based on gut instinct. You follow signs. You read road markers. You look for exits. Why? Because a feeling that you're on the right road doesn't guarantee you're actually headed to the right place. But signs, they confirm your path. And that's how God works when it comes to the right partner. He doesn't just stir your emotions. He marks your journey with confirmation. You might meet someone who makes your heart race, who says all the right things, who looks exactly like what you dreamed of. But if being around them confuses your mind, weakens your faith, and causes your peace to disappear, those aren't signs from God. Those are red flags wrapped in romance. Listen carefully. If you have to constantly convince yourself it's right, it probably isn't. Let's go deeper. In daily life, we see the difference between feelings and signs all the time. Imagine you're shopping for a house. You walk into one and it looks amazing. Open kitchen, polished floors, modern lighting. You feel it in your chest. This is the one. But then you check the foundation, cracks, plumbing issues, faulty wiring. Suddenly that feeling gets exposed by facts. And the real estate agent says, you could fix all of this, but now it's not a dream home, it's a project. And relationships are no different. God's not going to send you a project masked as a partner He's going to give you peace, not panic. Confirmation, not confusion. Think of Ruth and Boaz. She didn't chase Boaz with her feelings. She walked in obedience, and God positioned her. Boaz didn't choose Ruth based on charm or infatuation. He observed her character. That was the sign. He saw her integrity, her honor, her grit, and God aligned their hearts through purpose, not pressure. It wasn't a guessing game. It was a divine appointment. Here's the thing. When it's God, there will be agreement, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Your friends and mentors will say, there's something right about this. Your family, if they walk in wisdom, will sense peace. Your own soul won't be in conflict. You won't be up at night wondering if they're playing you. You won't be questioning your worth just to hold on to their attention. You'll know because when it's God, He doesn't just whisper to your heart. He echoes it through your life. Maybe you're saying, but I really feel like they're the one. Okay, but have you prayed or did you just project your hopes onto them? Did you wait or did you just wish? God never rushes what's right. He confirms it in layers, first with peace, then with alignment, then with fruit. Because the right person won't just say the right things, they'll live them. Their life will echo the same frequency as your faith. One of the clearest signs God gives you is fruit. Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruits, not by how they make you feel, not by how cute they are, not by the butterflies in your stomach, by their fruits. If someone claims they love God but can't love people with patience, humility, and kindness, pay attention. If they talk about the future but can't honor you in the present, that's a sign. If they show up with passion but lack consistency, that's a warning. It's like baking a cake. You might have all the right ingredients, but if the oven's not set right, if the temperature is off, you'll ruin the whole thing. A lot of relationships look like they have the right pieces, but they're not prepared at the right time or in the right environment. God knows what your heart needs when it needs it. Trust His signs more than your timing. Let's get practical. You might meet someone who checks off your list, but if every time you talk, your peace disappears and your spirit feels drained, that's not a sign to keep trying. That's a sign to step back. Peace is one of God's loudest voices. Don't ignore it. Don't silence it because you're afraid to lose the potential of a person who hasn't shown you the fruit of commitment, honor, and truth. The right person won't manipulate your feelings. They won't make you question your identity. They'll walk with you in alignment, not drag you out of position. When God sends someone, He sends clarity. You'll feel it in how your faith grows, how your purpose gets clearer, how your days get brighter. That doesn't mean everything's perfect, but it means it's divinely guided. So next time you feel overwhelmed with feelings, pause and pray. God, give me signs, not just emotions. Give me eyes to see, not just a heart that wants. Because feelings may start the journey, but confirmation is what carries you home. When love is divine, it doesn't leave you broken in pieces. It builds you into someone stronger, wiser, softer, and more powerful, all at the same time. Real divine love doesn't just feel good, it does good. It doesn't wound your worth, it waters it. It doesn't make you question who you are, it confirms the masterpiece God already created in you. Divine love makes you better, not bitter. Bitterness grows in the soil of disappointment. It thrives in places where expectations were unmet, trust was betrayed, and hearts were left unhealed. But when love is from God, it doesn't just entertain your emotions, it elevates your existence. Divine love doesn't control you, it frees you. It doesn't suffocate, it strengthens. You don't have to shrink to be loved. You grow, you expand, you shine even brighter. You've probably heard someone say, I used to believe in love until they broke me. But that's not love that broke you. That was trauma in disguise. That was a broken person trying to love out of their wounds, not their healing. And when you confuse pain with passion, you end up equating suffering with love. That's why you need divine love. Because divine love doesn't use you, it chooses you. It doesn't tear down your self-esteem, it builds your soul. Imagine a woman who used to laugh every day, dance without a reason, and carry joy in her eyes like sunshine. Then she met someone who manipulated her joy, questioned her dreams, and made her feel like she had to earn affection. She stayed, she called it love, but the longer she stayed, the less of herself she recognized. That's not divine love. That's a prison dressed up as passion. Now imagine another woman who meets someone who listens when she speaks, not just to reply, but to understand. Someone who sees her ambition and cheers it on, not competes with it. Someone who doesn't make her feel like she's too much, but reminds her she was made for more. That's not just attraction, that's divine alignment. And guess what happens? She starts healing in places she didn't know were hurt. She starts dreaming again, loving again. That's what divine love does. It revives you. Let me give you a daily life example you've probably seen. Picture a garden. If you water it with poison, nothing good grows. The flowers wilt, the soil gets toxic, and what once had potential now becomes a graveyard of what could have been. But when you water that same garden with clean, nourishing water, sunlight, patience, care, everything changes. Colors bloom, roots grow deeper, and life flourishes. Love works the same way. When it's divine, it waters your soul. When it's toxic, it kills your growth. Some people walk out of relationships with more baggage than they entered. Their trust is shattered, their confidence is drained, and bitterness becomes their defense mechanism. They say things like, I'll never love again, or all men are the same. No, they just haven't experienced divine love. God's love, reflected through a right partner, won't leave you skeptical about the world. It will restore your faith in people. It's like iron sharpening iron. Divine love doesn't avoid your flaws, it helps refine them. It doesn't belittle your fears, it helps calm them. It doesn't mock your vulnerability, it honors it. When someone loves you divinely, they hold your hand during the storm, not just dance with you in the sunlight. They see your cracks but don't run. They pour grace into them. Think of a man who's spent years being told he has to man up, hide his emotions, and be tough at all costs. Then he meets a woman who doesn't shame his tears. She welcomes them. She speaks life into his dreams. She doesn't make him feel weak for being human. She makes him feel safe to be real. That's divine love. And guess what happens? He becomes softer, kinder, more whole, better, not bitter. Bitterness says, you owe me. Divine love says, I'm here with you. Bitterness builds walls. Divine love builds bridges. Bitterness makes you guarded. Divine love teaches you boundaries, not walls. One isolates, the other protects. One keeps you stuck in your past, the other frees you into your future. You can tell a relationship is from God when your character gets better, when your patience grows, when you start thinking higher, speaking kinder, dreaming bolder. If love is making you bitter, tearing you down, causing you to lose your identity, it's time to step back and ask, is this love or just emotional warfare? God didn't design love to be your battlefield. He designed it to be your breakthrough. Divine love should feel like a home you never knew you needed, not a war zone you have to survive. It should challenge you, yes, but not crush you. It should call you higher, not drag you lower. It should inspire growth, not fear. Remember, when God pairs you with someone, it's not just for comfort, it's for calling. Divine love isn't passive. It's powerful. It doesn't keep you stuck in survival mode. It pushes you into purpose. It teaches you how to love with strength and tenderness. It doesn't demand perfection. It invites healing. And that kind of love will never leave you bitter. It will leave you better. Faith will always be the bridge between waiting and receiving. That space between the prayer and the promise, that awkward, silent, invisible space is where faith either grows or dies. It's where most people give up, but the faithful dig in. They plant themselves in hope even when it's hard to see any evidence. That bridge, that sacred in-between, is where God builds your character before He delivers your blessing. It's not punishment. It's preparation. Waiting isn't wasted time, it's work time. Think of it like this. When a woman is pregnant, we don't call those 9 months pointless. No, we call it a season of expectation. We know something is forming, something powerful, something precious. She may not see the baby yet, but she trusts it's there. She adjusts her habits, her diet, her schedule, because she's preparing to receive. That's what faith looks like. You may not see the blessing, but you position yourself for it. You change your posture before the promise arrives. It's easy to believe when everything's falling into place, but faith kicks in when nothing makes sense, when doors close, friends disappear, the job dries up, and your prayers seem to echo in silence. That's when faith says, God didn't bring me this far to leave me. I may not see the finish line, but I know who's walking with me. Faith is the power to keep walking in the dark, trusting that the light is just ahead. Let's make this real. Picture a man building a bridge across a deep canyon. It's foggy. He can't see the other side. But every plank he lays down is an act of trust. With each step forward, he's saying, I believe there is something on the other side worth reaching. That's you. Every prayer, every journal entry, every tear, every decision to not settle. It's a plank in your bridge. You're not stuck. You're constructing. And soon that bridge will carry you into the very thing you've been praying for. Let's take another example. Imagine you applied for your dream job. You went through the interviews, you sent the follow-ups, and then silence. Days turn into weeks. Most people would say, move on. But faith says, no, God is working behind the scenes. He's moving hearts, aligning conversations, orchestrating my favor. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. See, faith is not denial. It's defiance. It looks at the circumstances and says, I refuse to be moved by what I see because I know who my God is. That's why some people crumble in the waiting, because they build their hope on outcomes instead of on God's character. But when your faith is rooted in who He is, not just what He does, you can wait without worry. You can rest while you're building. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. A decision to build when it looks like nothing's coming. A decision to smile even when you're weary. A decision to trust the process even when the promise seems silent. Because faith knows silence doesn't mean absence. Delay doesn't mean denial. And waiting doesn't mean God forgot. It means He's fine-tuning your destiny. I think about a farmer. He doesn't plant seeds on Monday and expect fruit on Tuesday. He tills the soil. He waters. He waits. He protects the land from pests. He doesn't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. Why? Because he knows the principle. He trusts the process. He knows harvest always comes in due season. Faith is the same. It doesn't rush the promise. It prepares for it. It works while it waits. Let me talk to the single woman waiting for the right partner. You're tired of watching friends get married, attending weddings solo, and answering auntie's questions at family gatherings. But here's what faith says. I'm not behind. I'm being built. Every lonely night, every journaled prayer, every healed wound, it's not a delay, it's development. God is aligning your heart, refining your standards, elevating your vision, because the person He's preparing for you isn't ordinary, so your journey can't be either. Or maybe you're a man who's been building a vision with no applause. You're grinding in silence, investing your time, your energy, your belief into something nobody understands. Faith tells you keep building. You're laying the bricks of your future. Just because the world hasn't seen your success yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Your faith is your foundation. What you're building in secret, God will reward in public. And don't miss this. The bridge of faith is also how God measures your capacity. Before He hands you the blessing, He watches how you wait. Not with bitterness, not with jealousy, not with complaints, but with expectancy. Because expectancy is evidence that you trust His timing more than your feelings. Some people stop halfway across that bridge. They say, it's taken too long, or maybe it's not for me. But those who make it to the other side are the ones who understand faith isn't fast, but it's faithful. God is not Amazon Prime. He doesn't deliver on your timeline. He delivers on your transformation. And the longer the wait, the greater the glory. So if you're in the waiting, don't give up. Don't trade your faith for frustration. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And the bridge you're building today is the very path that will carry you to what you once thought was impossible. Faith is your blueprint. Your breakthrough is on the other side. Keep walking. You've heard the signs. You've walked through the truths. And now you stand at the edge of something divine. Let this settle in your spirit. God is not trying to delay your life. He is designing your destiny. What you thought was rejection was redirection. What you thought was silence was strategy. Every not yet was a whisper from heaven that said, I'm preparing the best, not just the next. You see, when God writes a love story, it's not scribbled in confusion. It's carved in confirmation. It doesn't make you question your worth. It reminds you of it. And that kind of love, that kind of divine partnership, it doesn't drain you, it develops you. It doesn't push you down, it pulls you higher. That's how you'll know it's from God. Because His blessings never come wrapped in anxiety or manipulation. They arrive in peace, in power, in purpose. Let this ring in your heart. You don't chase what God sends, you receive it. You don't compete for covenant, you align for it. You don't beg to be seen, you prepare to be found. Don't be afraid of the waiting room, because some of God's greatest miracles happen behind closed doors. Just because you can't see the finish line doesn't mean it's not being built. David was anointed as king long before he wore the crown. Esther had to prepare in silence before she stepped into the palace. Joseph sat in a prison before he rose to a throne. Don't despise the in-between. It's sacred. It's necessary. It's divine preparation. And when it's God, the connection won't just touch your emotions. It will activate your calling. The right partner won't just hold your hand. They'll hold your vision. They won't just romance your heart. They'll revive your spirit. You were never called to be completed. You were created to be complemented. And two people walking in purpose don't just make a relationship, they make impact. Listen closely. There's a reason you had to walk through heartbreak. There's a reason you had to heal in silence. There's a reason you had to stand alone. Because you weren't being punished, you were being positioned. God was not just shaping the person for you, He was shaping you for the person. And when that person arrives, you'll realize it was worth the wait. Not because they're perfect, but because the connection is divine. The love is peaceful. The growth is mutual. The faith is aligned. And most of all, the purpose is unstoppable. You won't have to question if they love you. You'll know. You don't have to beg for their time. They'll prioritize you. You won't have to shrink your calling. They'll fan the flames of your fire. That's how you'll know it's heaven sent. Because when God joins two people, it doesn't just feel right, it is right. And hear this. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. If you have to lose yourself to keep them, it's not love, it's bondage. The right one will never ask you to dim your light. They'll put mirrors all around you to remind you how brightly you shine. So don't settle for chemistry when God promised you covenant. Don't hold on to someone who feeds your fear when God has someone who will water your faith. Don't confuse attention for affection. Some people like you because you're available, but the right one will love you because you're valuable. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. Heaven is still writing your chapter. God is not late. He's just being God. And when He brings the right partner, you'll realize every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every tear you cried, it wasn't for nothing. It was planting seeds in the soil of your destiny. And now it's almost time to harvest. Keep walking in faith. Keep preparing in purpose. Keep standing in expectation. Because your story isn't over. In fact, the most beautiful chapter is about to begin. And when it does, you won't just thank God for the partner. You'll thank Him for the process that prepared you to receive them. Because God never forgets His promises. He fulfills them perfectly, powerfully, and right on time.